Wake up to a brand new kind of morning. On radio, on TV, online. It's the AM Show.
So, did you know that the words that come out of your mouth make up just 7% of your communication? 7%. Incredibly, 55 is body language, so we've called in an expert to decipher what all these hand gestures really mean. Is it trustworthy to show palms or is it not, or that sort of thing? So joining me now is behavioural specialist Suzanne Masefield. Nice to have you on the program.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so what do we decipher in through all this? I mean, I'm using my hands right now, they're out in front of me. I'm trying to work out what my question is. So what does this tell you, that my hands are going round and round in front of me?
Well, you're being very creative at the moment, but people don't actually realise how important hands are, and often, they think about it afterwards, or they're doing it unconsciously. So, you don't want to be clunky about it so that you feel like you're doing a lot of definite movements, but sometimes you have to actually start like that. So it can make the difference between, you being memorable and not. If you've got your hands under the table, then often that's not a connection point. So the more you have your hands around the waist level, that's a trust level. If they're up here, we're looking at inspiration, which is great if you're dealing with a big audience. But if they're down here, the focus is going to be down here.
They're in your lap, basically.
Exactly.
If it's up here, is it evangelical, is it?
It can be, and that's great with a big audience. But, if you're doing
up
this...
by your head,
And a lot of creative people do this. They talk with their hands up here. So you can start to decipher types of personalities from gestures that people actually use. If they're more linear and they're doing numbering and they're doing everything like chops and things like this, they tend to want more facts and results. So that gives you an indication.
Yeah, see, because I'm just watching you here. So what you're doing, your hand is very stiff.
Yeah. And
you're whacking it against your...
It's called a chop.
Yeah, it's like a chop, like you're chopping something on a chopping board. So that means you mean business.
That means you mean business. So anything where your hands are in a line of some description, or you're using numbers, that's tend to be people that are more technical. And if you're a very creative person and you're using rounded gestures, and sort of having your hands out here, there's a mismatch.
So words matter. I thought words really mattered.
Words do matter. They certainly matter, but it's actually having them working together. So if your words say something and your body language says something else, people unconsciously as well as consciously more likely to trust them.
I'm going to overanalyze this all weekend now. I'm just looking at everybody's hands and facial expressions, and can you overanalyze this stuff?
You can overanalyze it, yeah, definitely. I mean, analysis paralysis, I think I've heard that one before. But everything we think and feel is reflected in our body language.
Is this why when you're talking about the hands being so important, is this why when you go into a social environment, your hands is almost the most awkward thing about you? You don't know what to do with them. You need a cigarette or you need a glass of something to be holding to occupy your hands.
Yeah, totally. And what I say to people ask me that all the time, is if you just put a hand on your stomach lightly, feel your feet on the floor and take a breath, it feels like a connection point so you don't feel so insecure or uncomfortable in those environments. But then keep the other hand open in a palm up gesture and just sort of talk gently like that around the waist area. It'll take a bit of... Yeah, it's a bit like a waiter.
I'm feeling like a Latin dancer.
So, I feel like a belly dancer. So my body language is I've got to move on and we've got to go for the day. But thank you for coming in.